Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and today is the day. It's finally time to sit down and do my first impressions review of Black Ops Cold War now that the quote-unquote full game has launched and we have access to all of the content. I'm not gonna lie, my very first impressions of the game were awful. Opening night was incredibly rough, and it was so bad that I was having flashbacks to the release of Modern Warfare 2019, but over the 2 nights that followed, I got to experience even more of the game, and my thoughts and impressions, thankfully, have gotten a lot better. To answer the burning question on everybody's mind, and the question that is in the title of this video, no, I don't think that Black Ops Cold War sucks, but man, there is a lot of work that needs to be done. I'm going to break down this review into 3 sections. We're going to be discussing the good, then moving over to the bad, then to wrap up the video, we're going to be discussing the downright ugly, and without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump right into the video. Kicking things off here with the good, let's talk about progression. I'm not sure how much other people care about this kind of stuff, but for me, this is my favorite aspect of Black Ops Cold War so far. We were all sort of skeptical as to how this new seasonal prestige system would work, but in my experience over the past 3 days, I have been loving the cross progression that we have. We can level ourselves and our weapons in multiplayer, and then jump right into zombies and still work towards leveling our ranks and our weapons, and I love that. A great example of this was just last night, right before I started up my stream, I jumped into zombies and I played with the Spaz 12 that I had just unlocked, and after a quick exfil at round 10, I had unlocked like 5 different attachments for the Spaz while playing in zombies, which I could then equip and use in multiplayer, right? It feels really good knowing that virtually no matter what I'm doing within Black Ops Cold War, I don't feel like I'm wasting time because I'm constantly working towards my rank and leveling my guns, and of course, unlocking new attachments. Now, speaking of attachments, I think the new gunsmith system and the Cray class system are great. I love the wildcards and how they work and all the things you can do with them, and I really enjoy all the attachments that are available and how they can really let you tailor your weapon to your own individual playstyle. The customization that we have here is great, and I personally think it's a full-blown improvement over Modern Warfare 2019, so there's definitely some good news there. Going back to customization here for a second, however, there are so many camos to grind for in this year's game between multiplayer and zombies, and most of them are actually pretty good. The sense of progression that we have in this year's game cannot be understated. I really enjoy it, and we even have the return of a proper challenge system to keep players invested and hopefully keep them trying out new things. We have probably the best combat record since Black Ops 2 in this year's game, which is fantastic, and overall there are a ton of things to do in this year's title, and there's this feeling of constant progression, and I absolutely love that. I've been asking for that in the Call of Duty franchise for years now, and we finally have it with Black Ops Cold War. Now, from a gameplay perspective, I think Black Ops Cold War actually feels pretty good. I'm a huge fan of the overall feel, and I know that's not like the best feedback ever. The game feels good, right? But everything from movement to fluidity to gunplay feel really good in this year's game. It's a pretty fast time to kill, all things considered, but it's not the fastest time to kill like we saw with Modern Warfare 2019. Gunplay feels good, the game itself feels good as you're running around, like it's an enjoyable gameplay experience, and the weapons themselves actually feel unique, if that makes any sense. Some of them are completely out of balance, which I will be discussing in the bad section of the video, but in general, the gunplay across the various weapon types feels really good. I mean, tactical rifles feel like tactical rifles, some machine guns feel like some machine guns, snipers feel like snipers. Overall, I'm a huge fan of the core gameplay, and I think that's really good news for the future of the game, at least for me personally, because if the core gameplay is fun, and there's also on top of that a lot to grind for and a lot of things to keep you coming back and playing, then that's a huge selling point for me personally. Is the multiplayer perfect? No, by no means, but there's definitely a lot of good to the multiplayer at a very core level, even though there's not a whole lot there right now, and I think that's a good thing in general. It's a great foundation for the game as we move forward into Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, so on and so forth. I would also like to say that the game itself looks incredible. I remember a lot of people saying that the graphics were bad during the alpha and the beta, but here in the full launch, I think Black Ops Cold War looks great. Now, obviously, that's subjective. I feel like the art style is a bit more grounded compared to games like Black Ops 2 or Black Ops 4, but by no means do I find the art style to be boring. I mean, with Modern Warfare 2019, it felt like the developers wanted everything to be so gritty and realistic, and as a result, the color palette across the entirety of that game's multiplayer seemed to consist of gray, brown, and green. And that was pretty much it, right? But here in Black Ops Cold War, the maps are vivid, they are colorful, and they have their own unique art style, which is really appealing to me personally. There's a very fine line when it comes to art design in video games. You want the game to look good, but you don't want there to be so much visual noise on your screen because that can strain your eyes over time and kind of just burn players out, right? If a game looks too good and has too many colors and too many things happening all at once, it sort of just gives me a headache, and I'm sure a lot of you guys agree as well. So there's a very fine line they have to walk, and I think that Treyarch did a really good job with the art style and the look of the game, which is another check in the positive box for Black Ops Cold War. Now, unfortunately, however, that pretty much does it for the positive section of this video. I will try to reiterate one more time here that I feel like the core design of the game is good, but there is a lot that I would like to see changed or altered. So because of that, let's now move into the bad section of this video. So kicking things off here with the bad, let's talk about weapon balance. In general, I feel like balance is actually kind of good across the board, but one weapon sort of breaks all that, and you guys know what weapon I'm talking about. Over the course of the first few days of this game being out, the MP5 has completely dominated and destroyed everything else, and it's been really frustrating, right? As somebody who wants to experience the entire game, it's been really annoying to deal with everybody only using that one gun, especially when that one gun is better than any other submachine gun, and it also is better than most rifles at medium ranges. Now, Tony Flame has confirmed that balance changes will be happening with Season 1, or perhaps even sooner, but the stance over at Treyarch as of right now is it's too early to tell, we're going to leave things as they are. I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand how stuff like this even makes it past testing, assuming there even is any testing. It seems like within 30 minutes of the game being out, the community can tell Treyarch exactly what is busted, what is overpowered, what needs changed. But for some reason, they don't see any of that throughout the however many months they were developing this game. It really makes no sense whatsoever, but he did confirm today that balance changes will be coming, so hopefully the MP5 will be brought back to Earth with a nerf sooner rather than later. Next up on the list of bad features, we have map design. Unfortunately, it's gotta be said, guys, the map design is not that great in this year's game. I will say that some of the maps are growing on me a bit the more that I play them, but I really feel like the map design here in Black Ops Cold War is lacking so far. Whereas back in the day, Treyarch games would launch with maps like Firing Range and Summit and Raid and Hijacked and Combine and Castle. These days, our best map at launch is like, what, Moscow? Maybe, perhaps Satellite? I mean, the maps in this game are by no means unplayable, but they aren't the instant classics I think a lot of us were hoping for. Like I mentioned in the good section of the video, the maps look amazing, but the gameplay leaves a lot to be desired, at least so far, and who knows, maybe that'll all change once the MLG rejects and all those Twitch streamers with 2 viewers stop scuff jumping around every single corner with their MP5s and start using other weapons that require different playstyles. But for right now, at least, everybody and their mom is running around with a really busted submachine gun, and that's definitely impacting my ability to enjoy the maps. So hopefully over time the maps get better as people actually start branching out and playing the game in different ways. Now, another bad aspect of the game, in my opinion, are these score streaks. I've talked about this so much, and that's why I'm trying not to reiterate too much in this video as compared to my previous reviews. But it's gotta be said, the score streak system in this game isn't really working out so far, at least in my own personal opinion. Now, while yes, they can be powerful, score streaks can be powerful, the only ones that are really worth a damn are the fire and forget score streaks, right? A basic rule of thumb with this game is if you have to control the streak, it probably isn't all that good because it can be shot down in less than 5 seconds with the default RPD class. You can spend your entire match going off and doing really well, then finally grinding up to the 6,000 score that you need to call in your chopper gunner, and then have your chopper gunner destroyed pretty much immediately. It doesn't matter how many flares a chopper has if the best way to take it out of the sky is to use the default RPD class, which can melt it out of the sky in 5 seconds. And also keep in mind, spawn protection is a thing in this year's game, so you kill somebody who's trying to shoot you down, they spawn back in with the default RPD, they start shooting at your chopper gunner, They kill you in 5 seconds. They can kill you faster than their spawn protection goes away, and that's not good balance in my own personal opinion. I feel like these Scorestreak cooldowns need to be removed entirely for the higher up streaks, and I also feel like the Cavalry Lancer barrel for all weapons needs to only affect actual vehicles like tanks and jeeps, and no longer increase damage to Scorestreaks. I've been saying this all since day one of the alpha. You guys have heard me complain about this time and time again, but apparently Treyarch disagrees, man. Apparently Treyarch is okay with how the score streaks are so far, which is a bit of a disappointment because some of the streaks cost way too much, some of them are way too weak, some of them are a bit too strong early on, but they still have that cooldown, which kind of balances them. But I don't know, man. It's a very weird system. So far, I'm not a massive fan of the score streak system here in Black Ops Cold War, but just like the multiplayer maps, maybe the system will grow on me, and hopefully they'll continue to tweak and turn all the knobs over there on their balance board and make score streaks a bit better going forward. Now, with that being said, let's move along here to the ugly section of the video and start things off with everybody's favorite word, content. Right? It absolutely blows my mind that every single year we get less and less maps and guns at launch. Here in Black Ops Cold War, we have 8 total maps for 6v6 multiplayer play, and 2 of those maps are just sectioned off ground war maps that aren't even properly designed for 6v6. Now, don't get me wrong here. You're looking at some gameplay here from Crossroads Strike, I believe it's called. I think this map actually can play pretty well at some points, but let's take a look at this, right? I call in my chopper gunner on this tiny map, which is supposedly designed for 6v6, but what's happening? What's happening in my chopper gunner right now? Why is my chopper all the way out here? Well, it's because the chopper gunner is following the pathing that it has for the giant ground war mode that this map was actually designed for. There will always be that question of what came first, right? The chicken or the egg. But here in Black Ops Cold War, we have the question of what came first. Crossroads the ground war map or Crossroads the 6v6 map? It would make so much more sense for them to design the map for 6v6 and then really make that work, make it a really good experience, and then after that, build upon it for ground war. But I'm not entirely sure that is the case. It's entirely possible that they just chose a random section of Crossroads and a random section of Armada, put boundaries up, and called it good for a 6v6 map. Now, what's worse about this is Activision is already advertising that there will be more post-launch support for this year's game than ever before. But no shit, right? No shit there's going to be more support for this game as compared to previous Call of Duty games. It's easy to say that when we have literally the lowest map count in Call of Duty history, dating back 17 years to the original Call of Duty game in 2003. We have 8 maps at launch. Of course there's going to be post-launch content. You're basically cutting the entire game and then releasing it to us later. Like, that's what you're doing, Activision. We understand that. I mean, you guys cut 5 score streaks from the base game. You cut probably countless weapons. You cut a bunch of the maps. Like, of course there's going to be a lot of post-launch content. You didn't give us a full game. Like, holy hell. It seems like these days, Call of Duty developers are content to just release less and less and basically spread out as much content as we used to get at launch over the course of the first 6 months that the game is out. I know that some people will try to defend Treyarch and Activision, and they're going to blame the horrible dev cycle, and they're also going to blame COVID for this, but the reality is, this happened with Modern Warfare, this happened with Black Ops 4, and it definitely happened with Call of Duty World War II, which launched with only 9 standard multiplayer maps. Well, here we are. We thought that was a bad thing back in 2017. Here we are in 2020. We have 8 standard maps. We're actually regressing here as compared to getting better. I do genuinely think that Black Ops Cold War has a lot of potential. I do think the game is going to improve significantly after Season 1 releases and we get some new maps as well as new guns and the Battle Pass and gunfights going to be returning. I think the game's going to be a lot better, but still, that does not discredit the fact that it's annoying that they spread this stuff out so much as compared to releasing a full game at launch and then expanding upon that. Now, obviously, it's gotta be mentioned here. I hate to talk about it again because I've discussed it countless times here on the channel, but the other aspect of the game that I would include in the ugly section would, of course, be skill-based matchmaking. Black Ops Cold War so far has been incredibly sweaty, but I suppose all launches for Call of Duty games are incredibly sweaty, but it's basically the same matchmaking system that we saw during the alpha and the beta. So, yeah, the game is very sweaty. I also have to wonder if there is a party-based matchmaking system, because every night so far I've been playing with my friends, and basically every single game we play, we're playing against a full party. And that is definitely rough. I mean, having to try your best every single match in a casual playlist can really wear on you over time, but you guys have heard this all before. Overall, I feel as though Black Ops Cold War is a solid Call of Duty title with the very limited amount of content that we actually have so far. The game is not mind-blowing so far, it's not life-changing so far, but I do think it's pretty good, and I think it's only going to get better once the rest of the game finally comes out. The rest of the game that should have actually been here at launch, as well as, of course, with a number of balance updates, the game is going to be made a lot better. Unlike with Modern Warfare 2019, I'm currently 3 days into the new game's life cycle, and I haven't quit playing it yet, so I suppose that's pretty good news, and I do plan to be with you guys every step of the way as we progress through the next year of Black Ops Cold War. I'm going to wrap up today's video by asking you guys to please leave your first impressions of the game down in the comment section below. What do you like? What do you dislike? Did the game live up to your expectations? Are you enjoying the game so far? Leave your thoughts and feedback down in the comments. I look forward to reading all those comments, but until then, I hope you guys will enjoy today's video. If you did, consider leaving it a like. Thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.